Hey guys, we're back on aircraft again this week. This time we're going to be looking at Wolfpack's 1/48 scale P-35 kit. Let's open her on up and take a look. So, to start out with, the two fuselage halves here give us a good idea of the level of detailing that Wolfpack has done on this kit. Fortunately, a lot of the panel lining they've done on this kit is just ever so slightly overscale. For most part, it's going to be fine aesthetically, but in terms of proper scaling, it's just that much too big. Beyond this, though, I found no major issues with any of the casting of the parts. And if we flip over here onto the inside, we do find there is some detailing in the cockpit area. However, a lot of it is ultimately going to be accomplished with the included photo etch parts, which we'll look at in a little bit. Beyond that, on this sprue, we've got a couple of little odds in parts, but the main thing being the fuselage halves. Continuing on, we have our typical double halves to the wings. Again, this giving you a decent idea of just how big this kit will be once it's built up. Overall, it's still a small little aircraft, so it's not going to take up a whole lot of space on the shelf. Again, no major issues other than panel line being just slightly over scale. Internally, there's no additional detail on the inside. Again, a lot of that's going to be built up. Moving on, got our cockpit tub, as well as cockpit instruments, landing gear, which are okay. There's not a super lot of detail there, so that is something you might want to consider doing some additional work on. Got our engine, which is nice. As far as plastic kit engines go, nothing too dramatic there. Sort of right in the middle of the road. You know, it's one of those things you don't need to replace, but at the same time you can add a little bit more detailing too. We also got a prop, landing gear wheels, cowling, and our instrument panel. Again, a lot of the detailing from here is going to be built up with the photo etch. Moving on to our clear parts, the only issue I found was here on this front windscreen piece is because of this angle of this curver, it just to my eye at least does not look like it properly caught the framing detail in the mold. So that is a little disappointing. However, the kit does include some vinyl mask, which we'll look at in a minute, that should hopefully make it a little easier to pick that detail up. Lastly, we've got a small little resin piece for the prop. I believe this is the prop governor. I'll admit, need to double check my references as far as this particular engine where everything is located, but not too terrible there. Now, continuing on, we do have 2 frets of photo etch, one pre-colored and one not. This includes some additional cockpit detailing, which is a nice inclusion, as well as a few other lead wires for the engine and other little bits. On this second colored sprue, we have more of the cockpit details for both the instrument panel and the sidewalls, plus a nice set of seat belts. So overall, very happy with the photo etch that Wolfpack's included on this kit. They thought of a lot of details to include. I'll just put that away later. Continuing on, decal sheet's very sharp. I'm very impressed here. Colors are in good register. Red could be just a hair bit more red, but it's not enough to lose sleep over. We also include some instrument panels and markings for 2 aircraft. Now let's get into the instructions. Now, since you are going to be working with a fair bit of photo etch, you need to be aware of that, as a lot of effort's going to go into detailing up the cockpit. Granted, if you pose it with the canopy closed, how much is that going to be really able to seen is debatable, but you do want to take some time and care in building it up. Once you get the cockpit up, it's typical aircraft model, seal up into the fuselage, and then we can work on the engine, get the cowling on, get the wings, prop, all the other details. As I mentioned before, we do have a masking sheet, which is a nice inclusion. Unfortunately, I don't know how well the various panels, masking panels, are going to show up on camera, but fantastic inclusion, especially for aircraft of this era where you have this massive birdcage style of canopy. So that is a major plus. On that, as I mentioned before, we got markings for several aircraft, 2 in natural metal and 1 in overall olive drab. Beyond that, I mean, this is a nice little kit. This is a period of aviation that typically you don't see as much from, in part because it's more of a transition period. Aircraft in this era was typical for a plane to be obsolete by the time it even reaches a squadron, as the technology of the day was advancing that quickly. So, similarly, just because of the period, you don't see as much way as subject matter and kit form. So I would definitely say this is one to pick up, just because, it's not one you're going to see as often. So we do want to try and support some of these more oddball subjects, as, if people aren't buying the kits, you're not going to see regular production runs of some of these subjects. So I digress, though. But as far as this kit concerned, why it's not perfect by any stretch of the definition, it is a solid kit. They give you a lot of bang for your buck, and this is one I would recommend. Plus, if you do go with a nice polished full metal finish, it will build up to be a bit of a standout in your collection. So that was a look at Wolfpack's 1/48 scale P-35A kit. An alright kit with a lot of bang for your buck. So, until next time.